Welcome to the World Awaits.
Travel tales to inspire your wanderlust.
Welcome back to the World Awaits. How are you all?
Hi, everyone. How are you, Kirsty?
More importantly, this week, how are you, Belle?
Well, as we go to air, I am soaking up the vibes in Tunisia, which, you think it's miles from anywhere, but actually it's spitting distance to Malta and a hop skip to Sicily and your favorite place in the world, Kirsty, Sardinia.
Yes, it is one of my favorite places in the world.
Yeah, it's a funny one though, Tunisia. When I talk to Australians about saying, hey, I'm going to Tunisia, everyone's like, what? When I talk to Brits about it, they're like, yeah, whatevs, because the Northern Coastline has actually been a sunny Mediterranean fly and flop destination for years for Northern Europeans. So, they're just not that excited about it as I am. I'm very excited. But on this trip with Intrepid Travel, I'm going further south away from Tunis, which is the capital. So as we're going to air, I will be delving deep further into the south to get my desert rat on in the fringes of the Sahara. And
Oh my
is there
God.
anything more exciting than that?
God, I'm so jealous. It is so exciting. No, it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing, and cannot wait to chat about it. So, we've both had some really exciting travel plans coming up this year, actually, and we will be sharing them all with you, including Belle's trip. So make sure that you do subscribe if you haven't already. And also this week I'm going to be talking about a recent trip I did to the Cocos Keeling Islands. And my story about this incredible atoll has just come out in Vacations and Travel magazine. So go and grab a copy at your nearest news agent, so you can see how spectacular it is. And then, you can hear all about it from me soon too.
But first up, with Europe top of the travel lists for the Australasian winter, we thought we'd let you know about Emirates' new data from the top European destinations that Aussies are going to this winter.
Yeah, so interestingly, even though we do get a lot of research saying Europe's cooling off a bit, but I think come sort of May, June, particularly here in Melbourne, when it gets so cold, you feel it deep in your bones. A trip to Europe always appeals. And throw in a good flight deal and, hey, our bags are packed. So Emirates says more than 120,000 Australians have already booked the European trips just with them alone.
It's phenomenal, isn't it? And I think they've also increased their number of flights out of Melbourne as well. So 120,000, that's more than you can fit into the MCG. Ha ha. So Emirates says this year's top winter destinations are, and there won't be any surprises in here, London, Dublin, Rome, Athens, Paris, Edinburgh, Barcelona, and of course the absolute hottie at the moment, Lisbon. And we've both been lucky enough to tick a few of those off in the last 12 months too. I mean, I love Greece so much. Love it. God, I love it hard. However, I flew into Athens, but I recently reviewed the new Mandarin Oriental, which is 3 hours south in the Peloponnese for the Sydney Morning Herald. I'll pop a link in the show notes. And if that does not make you want to book a flight straight to Athens, I don't know what will.
Yeah. Well, I love Rome. My God, I'd go back there in a heartbeat. But Emirates has also seen a lot of interest in Hungary, Romania, and Bulgaria, which are also places Belle's been to recently. And actually, talking about our travels, if you head back to episode 63, you can hear Belle chat about why you should go there.
To Bulgaria, absolutely loved it. The food alone is worth the trip, and it's a really great budget destination. And interestingly, this Emirates research showed that it's couples who are predominantly responsible for this surge in bookings on Emirates, followed by families. And premium travel too is up with 15% increase in premium economy, which is actually proving really hard to get because everybody wants to get on there. There's been a 4% increase in business class fares and 6% in first class. I mean, I want to go on first class. Please, God, give me a first class flight.
Me too. I've been lucky enough to fly business class, but not first class. I've never flown first class. And from chatting to many airline experts who have flown first class, as we have over the past 90 podcasts, Belle, since we started the World Awaits, the biggest difference between business and first seems to be the champagne. So on Emirates, it's Dom Perignon, and which is served across all its global routes, and it's free flowing. going too. So I know that you like a wine to knock yourself off to sleep when you fly. So there you go. There's your incentive.
I I do. And actually, the last time I flew with Emirates, I took the sneak up into the business class lounge because I was downstairs in the economy, and they snuck me up the back passage, which actually doesn't sound that great when you say that. But anyway, um, stuck up there and had a little glass of champagne. But, put me in first class with all the fine dining, and I might just stay up longer for the meals. This week, I am chatting to Kirsty about a recent trip that she did to the Cocos Keeling Islands. So, Kirsty, I think the first question has to be, where are the Cocos Keelings? And are they really part of Australia?
I thought you were going to say, are they real? You would wonder. So, it's literally in the middle of nowhere, so almost halfway between Australia and Sri Lanka. So to get there, you have to fly from Perth, and Virgin has 2 flights a week, and it is an Australian territory, so you don't have to have a passport. So the Cocos Keeling is made up of 27 islands, but only 2 of them are populated. So West Island, where the airport where doubles as a golf course because the flights are so infrequent. There's West Island, and then there's also Home Island, which is a half an hour ferry ride away. And that has about 600 people living there, mostly Coco Malay. And interestingly, tourism hasn't actually been around all that long. It only really started in the 80s when the Coco Malay population voted to integrate with Australia, although the Queen did visit in the 50s. So there you have it.
Really? Did she? Oh my goodness. She must have. Did she sail there? I wonder. That would be fascinating to find out because it really is. It is seriously remote from an Australian point of view. So, I mean, why do you go there? Like, what do people expect when they go there?
Yeah, well, the perception's a really interesting one. So, I was sitting on the plane on the flight over there next to the only advanced open water diving instructor, Dieter, and we had a really nice chat. And he was obviously just telling me all sorts of things about the history of the place and how remarkable it was. But he was telling me a really funny story about how a couple came over and booked a dive with him because the husband wanted to go diving. So he just, you know, they just went over as a couple with his wife, and she thought she was going for sort of this luxury resort style holiday, and this is just not the case. So while it does look like something straight out of the Maldives, a trip here is sort of really more about immersing in the local culture, and it's really all about the ocean. Everyone's livelihood depends on the ocean, and so ocean tourism is a really big thing, and it is a spectacular place, but not quite what this woman was expecting. So Dieter was sort of saying how, it was really interesting because, well, needless to say, it didn't go down too well for the man because his wife wasn't very happy and she she demanded to leave. So she ended up going home and he had one of the best diving and fishing experiences of his life.
Oh my gosh, that's phenomenal. So we know what the perception is about it, but well, I mean, what type of place actually is it? What's the vibe of this joint?
So it's very relaxed. So it's really like going to your favorite beach holiday destination. When you go to those places when you're younger, when you're a kid, how people go to holiday destinations and it's like everyone knows each other and it's just a really relaxed, cool beach vibe. It's really like that. And so to paint a bit of a picture, like it's literally the water is like powder blue water and ice and sugar like sand. And I don't say that lightly. Like it looks like that. There are coconut groves with these giant green palms where they just fan out and like envelope you as you're walking through, and there's like giant coconuts discarded on the ground like big skulls, and palm-sized crabs. The crabs are just incredible, massive crabs just everywhere, and there's chickens roaming free. And then the waters, so in the water, obviously there's just like kaleidoscopic fish darting around between your legs. And we went out once and we were just walking along in this like crystal clear gin like water, and this parrotfish was just darted between my legs. It was so bright, it was so surreal, and almost like in such a surreal situation. It just felt, because of this fish that were so vibrantly coloured, and because you can see them all so clearly. So it really feels really untouched. And the other cool thing about it is the vibe is kind of like there's no traffic lights, right? So and everyone leaves their keys in their cars just in case someone needs the car, and all their homes are unlocked. So you when you hire a car, they say to you, don't take the keys out of the car. So you take the car and it feels very unnatural, but you have to leave the keys in the car just to say someone else just wants to pick up the car and use the car while they're on the island. So yeah, that's what it's like.
Oh my goodness. I mean, that sounds incredible. What are the things that, why do you go? Why do you go there? If you actually know why you're going there, unlike that woman, what are some of the things you can do on the island? You did rave about the motorized kayaks and biking around the island. So, yeah, run us through some of the activities on
Yeah,
on the Cocos Keelings.
Yeah, both of those things are really amazing and a really good way to get sort of the lay of the land. And so we cycled around under those amazing coconut trees, and then you just pop out at this glistening beach that feels like it's you've just been abandoned on some island somewhere, which you basically have. And we also went snorkeling on Pulamaraia, which is one of the tiny little islands there. And there's 500 species of fish here. So basically, like I was saying before about that parrotfish, when you go snorkeling here, the marine life is just really incredible. It's just remarkable. And when you walk up on the shore, there's these lipstick red crabs that just pop out of their white little shells and just scuttle around. So as you're walking around on shore, all the shells seem to move. It was just bizarre. I was thinking, all these shells are just moving, and when you take a closer look, you can see like these little lipstick red crabs just crawling around underneath. But probably for me, one of the best parts about it, and I always bang on about how I love meeting the people behind a place, and I honestly, genuinely, that was the best thing for me. So meeting the locals. So we're really fortunate to take a tour on Home Island. So I think I said before, it's about a half an hour ferry ride from West Island. And there's a local Zula Kia who actually runs the local visitor information centre, and she's a fourth generation local, and she took us to her mum's house on Home Island, and because they're going to start running cooking classes this year. So if anyone goes over there, go over to the visitor information centre and just ask about the cooking lessons with her, because she hasn't started them yet, but we were sort of getting a test run. So she took us over there, and we went into her house, into her kitchen, and her dad was there and her mum was there, and she was saying, "Oh, my dad catches all the fish." And then her dad catches everything they eat. Her dad catches the fish for the week. And then she was saying that, she wanted to cook and wants to show people the local dishes to help keep the traditions alive. And that aspect of helping keep local cultures and traditions alive is really deep in that Home Island culture. So she took us around on little golf cart things around the island. It's really tiny. And we went and met this 84-year-old called Wak Uden, and he is the only person on the island who makes sea salt, and he weaves traditional baskets, these coconut tree leaves. So he just whipped one up, and I was saying to her, how long would that normally take to make? And she was like, oh, if anyone else did it, it would be like 2 hours. And he was whipping these baskets up in about 10 minutes. And I said to him, I asked her to translate to because he didn't speak English, ask him what, how he felt about he's the only person doing it. And he said he's really been trying to educate the younger generation, but a lot of them aren't particularly interested in it. So it's just such a shame to think that, that tradition could be lost. So, and you can actually buy his baskets if you do go over there at the West Island Visitors Information Centre, or you can buy them off him as well. And you can also taste his sea salt at the main restaurant on West Island, which is called Salty's Cafe, which is run by another local family. Everything's run by locals, and everyone's got more than one job. So, people might be they might be the local electrician, and then they also run a dive centre or something. So so that's, and then back on West Island, I also met another really remarkable woman called Emma Washer, and she runs the Big Barge Art Centre. So this is this boat this giant moored barge, which her father completely restored with the locals and they've got it now permanently moored on this completely isolated island on West Island. And it's literally like, just meters from the water. And basically what she's turned it into an art center. So she uses debris, 100% marine debris that's washed up on the atoll, to make art. So things like thongs and toothbrushes and plastics, and she said that there's just not a lot of education in neighboring nations about, discarding of rubbish in the ocean. So she wants to make sure that she can collect it. And she runs workshops. So if you're a visitor, you can make something from the marine debris and take it home with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible that, that they are getting, debris and rubbish in from other parts of the world. Because when you look at it on the map, it's quite close to, it's much closer to Indonesia than it is to Australia. So I was going to ask, when you were talking about running over all those incredible crabs and stuff, what's the food like when you go to that cooking school? Is that like, what are you eating when you're there? Because you are miles from nowhere. I don't think there's any sheep or cattle kicking around the place, are there?
No, and this is the thing. I mean, it's because of the nature of the islands, they don't grow much there. So predominantly it's all about local fish. There's chickens running around everywhere, to be honest. And I'm sure, but we had, a lot of. The food's remarkable, and we had a lot of there are a lot of sort of Malay dishes, rice and chicken and fish and chicken, beautiful dishes, and samosas and things like that we had when we were there.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds fantastic. And look, I have to ask, what is the weather like? You've got these amazing beaches, but you are in the middle of the ocean, and that has got to play. It's got to play some effect upon these tiny, tiny land mass. So tell us about the weather, Kirsty.
So when I was on the plane with Dieter, he was telling me that there's a running joke that summer's winter and winter's summer because the weather only changes by 2 degrees. So it's really beautiful and warm all year round. But unseasonably, and just my luck, when we got there, it was literally like we had about a few hours and then it just started pouring. It just literally poured with rain, and it doesn't typically rain. We were when you're there, you like this. It was in November, and so and it does sort of have a bit of an impact on you, obviously getting out to do with the boats just because of the weather. But it didn't stop us sort of getting out about. And I'll tell you, it was really funny watching the local kids because clearly this is an indication of how much rain they must get. When it was really raining a lot outside the golf club, which is just like a tiny little shack next to the runway, because that's the golf course. There was a little puddle that sort of on the road. There was a bit of like a lot of water that had pooled there, and all the kids grabbed like skimboards and whatever they could find, little boogie boards, and they were so excited about the rain. And I was thinking, so different to when it rains at home. And they ran outside and they literally were dragging each other around on these boards, and then they were sitting in the puddles. And we were driving around the corner, they were screaming out and yelling. And I said to the person we were with, the local, what are they doing? And why are they yelling at us? And they're just so excited. She said, no, they want us to speed up and splash them. But she said, it's not going to happen because there's a 30-kilometer limit around the whole line and everyone adheres to it because it's such a community feel. It's like literally everyone's a big family. So, because there aren't that many people. There's like 100 people, 120 people that live on West Island, and they're all running tourism businesses, and as I said before, like Home Island is a larger population of Coco Malay, but West Island is where a lot of the tourism operators are based. And so she was saying no one will do it, but we tried to give them a little splash, but it wasn't. You have to stick to that 30k speed limit. But these kids were just so excited about the rain. But If it's not raining, the one thing you really want to do, which we were going to do but we couldn't because of the rain, was go to Direction Island, and that's where apparently the marine life is just really abundant, and it's said to be by many people that go there, and the locals, that it's like swimming in an aquarium. It's just that magical, the diving there, and it's renowned for being, yeah, a really remarkable dive spot.
So it sounds incredible. Who's best suited to this island? Clearly not the woman in the anecdote at the beginning, because she was looking for 5-star hotels, wasn't she?
Yeah, I think he just. I think her husband just might have talked it up so that because he, I think, so desperately wanted to go there. So yeah, look, I do think it suits most travelers. I mean, if you want a luxury resort type holiday, then Deet is right, and that it's not. There's some lovely accommodation, but there's not flashy resorts. For a family holiday, you just would have an amazing time. Like, I would love to have taken. I mean, my kids are older, but kids at any age, you just get back to basics and connect whenever you travel. And because this place is really literally just back to basics, no one wears shoes. I mean, I was talking to to Melva, the PR for the Cocos Keeling, who was with us a lot of the time when we were there, and they'd lived there for a few years, and they were going to be moving back to mainland. And she was saying, that her 3-year-old son, had never worn shoes. So they just don't wear. No one wears shoes. No, like, it's just the weather's warm. It's just safe. No one wears shoes. And you just walk around, and but for couples also, there are some really beautiful private snorkeling spots, and they're never overcrowded, because you can only have, I think it's 140 or 144 people there at one time. So you can never have more tourists than that there at one time. So because of that, there's lots of quiet places to go for couples, and the beaches are literally your own. The food's amazing. Like I explained before, there's a really local sort of casual cafe style restaurants, and they're right on the water, run by the locals. Everything's run by locals. And I think our last day really sort of summed it up for me. So our flight was cancelled, and so when the flights are cancelled, I mean, there's nowhere to go, because you are and a whole lot of people had come in from Christmas Islands, because the way the flight goes, it came Christmas Island, then Cocos Keeling, and then back to Perth. So there was an influx of people who already had been booked in our accommodation, so we couldn't stay where we were staying. So literally, it was like it was an event of some kind, or a festival or something. All these locals just come out of their houses. Everyone just rallies around, and they just take you to their home. So I stayed with this gorgeous couple who'd moved here there for the lifestyle. They just ended up living there, and they just gave me their spare room. I stayed in their spare room. They make you a cup of tea. They're happy to just make you anything you want to eat. It's just a real sense of community. And experiencing that, being there when that flight was cancelled, and watching that community rally around you, and literally everyone just came out of their homes and were just like, right. We were lining up, and they were just ticking our names off and going, you go with Fred, you go with Mary, you go with this person, you go with that person. It was just remarkable. And, I think that really sums up what it's like being there. Like, everyone knows everyone treats you like they love having tourists there. They respect you. They're grateful for having you there. They want to show you what a remarkable place this is, and it really is. And because, like I said before, their livelihood is all about the ocean. So it's about getting tourists out on the ocean. But there's just a true sense of community, and you will feel that from the minute that you get there, and you will certainly feel that when you leave.
Oh, it sounds just incredible. That's such a great note to end on. And if you want to hear more or learn more about the traveling in the Cocos Keelings, you can read Kirsty's story in the latest issue of Vacations and Travel magazine. And to learn more about the atoll, go to cocoskeelingislands.com.au.
So solo traveling is continuing to grow, and Airbnb's Spring 2025 Travel Trends report has revealed a whopping 90% year-on-year increase in solo travel searches, with an average of 17 nights booked per solo spring trip. And nearly 50% of Aussies plan to take a solo trip this year, with female wanderers leading the charge, making up nearly 3/4 of all solo travellers. So we thought we'd bring you a tip from the Airbnb about how to stay safe when you're travelling alone.
So the first one up is go incognito. Don't advertise that you're traveling solo. So Airbnb suggests avoid openly revealing that you are traveling alone when people ask you about your travel plans. If necessary, make up a fake partner or mention that you're meeting up with friends later on. Keeping a low profile helps reduce the chance of drawing unwanted attention, keeping you off the radar of potential threats. We've chatted about this before, and living and traveling in the Middle East on my own, I usually wore a wedding ring or at least an engagement ring just as an initial visual barrier, and definitely, not advertising that I was alone.
And don't accept ground floor rooms, they're saying, or room numbers being announced. So obviously, it makes you a bit more of an easy target for intruders. So especially those with rooms with easy access via balconies. And they said to avoid rooms at the end of hallways or with adjoining doors, and be discreet with your room number. So don't hesitate to request a new room if the hotel staff accidentally say it out loud. And they also just suggest hanging a do not disturb sign on your door once you enter the room and leave it there until you check out.
That's interesting. I'd never thought about that one. They also suggest amping up your hotel room security. So hotel key cards can sometimes be overridden by master keys, and definitely by the staff. If your hotel room lacks a secondary lock or a latch, they suggest packing a rubber or alarmed door stopper or a portable door lock. Most cost around $10 online. And they just add an extra layer of security to keep unauthorized entry at bay. And also, when you first enter the room, check that all locks on the doors and the windows are secure from the inside and can't be accessed with a key from the outside. And if anything feels off, trust your gut and ask for a new room. So it's totally worth a peace of mind, because no one wants to be sitting awake in bed all night, right?
Sweep your room for hidden cameras. So this always does freak me out a bit about particularly Airbnbs, actually. But they're saying 11% of travellers have discovered hidden cameras in their lodging. So inspect the room. I'm not sure that I'd even know once I'd even see it, but they say pay close attention to common hiding spots like smoke detectors, air vents, alarm clocks, and even furniture. And shine your phone's flashlight to check for reflections, as camera lenses often glint under light.
I don't think I've ever checked a room. I've never done a sweep for hidden cameras. It is a bit weird, though. I mean, you do hear those awful stories about, horrible, not a bash Airbnb hosts, but, it has cropped up that girls will find a hidden camera placed in their rooms. And their last tip is do not, and I totally agree with this one, do not sacrifice safety for budget. So solo travel can definitely be pricier than traveling with a companion, but that doesn't mean that you have to skimp on safety for the sake of a few bucks. It is tempting to go for the cheapest accommodation you find, but, that rock bottom price can sometimes come with hidden risks like a pervy landlord. So take the time to do the research. Read the reviews, check the safety of the surrounding area. I mean, if you are staying in the shabbiest part of town, is that really where you want to be if you're walking back home from dinner? And get a feel for the type of guests that the place attracts. But look, I mean, I've always maintained that even if you're in the shadiest place, ramp it up, spend it up so that you've got a base that's a safe place to go back to, that you can talk to the hotel staff, that you feel comfortable and safe. But look, really just enjoying it. There are now loads of ways to travel solo. You can be in small groups with tour guides, which is what I'm doing in Tunisia. And it's just about also respecting the culture, regardless of where you are, and using a bit of common sense. But having said that, nobody's perfect, especially not me. And I do believe, though, in the power of humanity. Sometimes if I've been in tricky situations, because it does happen, it has simply been the kindness of strangers that's helped me come through unscathed. So be alert, but also don't be so suspicious that you miss the goodness and hospitality in people's hearts.
Yeah, I love that. That's a really good point. If you'd like to help support our production costs, you can buy us a coffee at coffee.com/theworldawaits. That's ko-fi.com/theworldawaits, so we can continue to bring you inspirational travel interviews with the world's best. Please give us a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. Click on our profile, scroll to the bottom to ratings and reviews. And if you're on Spotify, go to our main page and click the 3 dots under our photo, or simply just drop us a note. We love hearing from our listeners, and you can reach out to us at hello@theworldawakes.au.
That's a wrap for The World Awaits this week. Click to subscribe anywhere you listen to your favourite pods.
Thanks for listening. See you next week.